A very good evening to everyone. A warm welcome to all on our last episode on season 2 Minimalist Corporate Lifestyle. And today's topic is parenting today. Everyone across the world is living in their own strange reality. But the parents who have children less than 10 years old are perhaps going through most of their puzzling time of their life. Um, Whilst the kids in these days are aware of the impact of the climate change, can navigate a Zoom class, they know very well how to navigate into WhatsApp and what are the apps available, how much is the space available, everything. They can manage even the NASA related complex situation also with an ease. But they're emotionally fragile, and processing this time is a very significant part of their childhood. This lockdown imposition has come like a surprise to the children because no more they can see their parks, they can see their friends, they can see their team members, the schools, the studies, everything is changed. The entire timetable of their life is changed. So what are parents doing at home when they're working from home? So they have their work related challenges, they have to meet their deadlines. At the same time, there is a children or there's a child waiting at the backside of their bed, tapping on the shoulder that they're hungry, they need something, they need attention. And sometimes the TV is at the loud volume, something is happening, and the parents have to pay a divided attention that I have to focus on my screen, the Zoom calls, the meetings are on, and as well as I have to look at my child, what the child is doing. How do we handle and how do we cope up this situation? On this note, I would like to welcome our speaker of today, Meghna Yadav, who's a child psychologist and a family counselor. She's a consultant head and training development at KLAY Prep Schools and Daycare in Bangalore. A huge round of applause to Meghna. She is joining our call today from Bangalore with a master's in child psychology, that's Summa cum laude, San Jose State University, California. Meghna has been working in the field of early childhood education for more than 2 decades. Her success stories include the launch of Parent Academy and Read and Reflect program for more than 10,000 parents. Having a strong background in child development, her research interests include developmentally appropriate practices, parenting in today's world, developmental milestones in child growth and development. Meghna is there as a psychologist to advise you on some of the situations. Please note, if you have children which is more than 18 years old, do not ask the questions because Meghna will not be able to handle any adult counseling on this session. Along with Meghna, we have two beautiful parents with us. Prashant Nagarkar, a good friend of mine, who is have an 18 years of experience in health and insurance industry. Currently, he is working with United Healthcare, but a doting father to 11-year-old son. Mansi Samudra, she is another friend of ours who's a healthcare management consultant by profession. She's completed her B.Pharm and MBA from International Business School. She is a doting mother of an 11-year-old daughter. Both these parents will be navigating us and exchanging an interactive dialogue with Meghna. You can ask the questions in the chat box, and today's forum, we will ensure even the last question in the chat box is answered within the timeline. Over to you, Meghna. You may face a little bit of a technical slack because Meghna is logging from Bangalore. Bangalore has issue of rains, surprise rains, surprise electricity failure. So give us a minute before Meghna starts. Thank you for your patience. Please be on a hold. We're just going through some technical glitch over there. Meghna will soon join us and she will start the session. So some of the challenging situations whilst Meghna is coming back online. Prashant, what do you think in this scenario? What are the challenges that a parent would have towards the children. You have only one single son, but I'm sure there are parents who have handful of children at home. Sometimes the infrastructure, given the Mumbai locality, the where we are staying, where you can't send your children down to play now. They're all 24/7 in front of you. What are your challenging times?
So I would say, Arunatha, and thanks for positioning that question. I'm sure what means to everyone else as well. I think more than the challenging situations, it's also an interesting and an exciting time right now, is where people like me, and I will be very candid here, struggled to put time and give time to my boy all the time. And while now for the last 2 to 3 months that we are all at home, lockdown, completely having full time and attention that can be given to the children, the challenges that are back and the Q&A session starts as that. All this while we used to always keep our children and try to make effort to keep them away from screens, try to not give them as much as screen time possible and everything. And here we are where the schools reopened with tech support and everything and all of those. So I think we are sounding ironical here, and it sounds very funny where we had to now go back and tell children, okay, this is what you'll have to do for your school. Since you can't go out and play with your friends and everything, use the screen to maybe play a small game or something of that kind. So, I mean, yes, there are questions and something. And maybe for working, whether it's a working mother or a father, I think balancing that time with children and what's their needs and everything is slightly difficult. And yes, I'm sure some of our other colleagues will also share that we all are also now currently deprived of any help that we had from maids that used to come home and everything. So I see that especially as a challenge for the females who used to work and now are home, who have to justify office work as well as manage the kids also. So I think it's challenging as well as exciting times from my side as well.
Okay, on a positive note regarding this, Prashant, in fact, you know what? In a way, if you look at this scenario where all of us are stuck indoors and we have to do all these chores, suddenly, don't you think everyone has started pitching into these things? You know, my daughter is sweeping her own room. In fact, I got her involved in cooking. I'm so proud to say recently I had keema made by her. So suddenly she's like, you know, totally independent. I can just leave home as soon as the lockdown is done. I mean, actually, it's like, you know, honestly speaking, initially, that was the thought as to how to entertain these children. I mean, suddenly you are at home and there's absolutely nothing to do. They need to stay at home, and how do they get involved? So basically, I started off with this, you know, initially it was just a 21-day thing. So it became like a game for us. And so we started cooking, and then I felt, okay, this is something which I can share with people on Facebook, because my daughter was enjoying it. And then it was kind of like, you know, this is what your children can do. And then suddenly people started appreciating it.
Absolutely.
And you know, it just kind of built up, and she started enjoying. And then suddenly she's doing duck walks in the middle of making thali peet or something like that. So again, kind of little bit of a physical activity happening.
Correct.
So it was fun.
Get that, yeah. See, that kind of social recognition maybe on a platform like a Facebook or Instagram. And yes, obviously, I mean, kids were awaiting loads of parents to be party to what they were doing, and all of those also definitely helped. I think Meghna is back, so I hand it over to you back again, Meghna.
I'm so sorry. These power fluctuations giving me really tough time.
Yeah,
very bad weather storm almost in Bangalore.
Yeah. I heard it. We were connected on the call with someone prior to this call. I could clearly get that.
Okay. I hope you all can see my screen.
Meghna, just put it on the present. Yeah, it's on the presentation mode. We can see it.
Yes. Okay. First of all, my apologies. I did not want to start with this bumpy ride, but thank you so much for the words. Whatever I could hear, I felt like I'm going back to my college life, hearing my intro so much in depth. I'm honored. Thank you so much for having me here and giving me this opportunity following my passion, connecting with as many people as possible and listening from where parents are coming and what is it that's going on. Today's presentation very much based on the conversations that I have with parents on one-on-one basis. Also the group counseling sessions that we conduct with multiple set of parents through the corporate clients of KLAY Prep Schools and Daycare, as I am a consultant, and KLAY Prep Schools and Daycare is my only client in India. So I get a lot of Indian parenting exposure through this platform. And we are unique. Indians are unique in their functioning when it comes to parenting. I'm a big fan of Indian parenting, and a bit of intro already shared gracefully by Aruna. Thank you so much for that. But one key intro that I would like to share with each one of you, and I think all my paper qualifications at one side, and this is at one side. I'm a mother of two, a boy and girl, and I think that's where my key learning happens, and I do have struggles, juggling here and there to manage the parenting as well as my work commitments. More so true in today's world, especially in past few weeks, we have seen this, and let's try to understand what's going on in our lives through some beautiful sketches, thanks to a beautiful mom, Angie Stevens, who created these. And I would say this is the reality today for most of us. We have developed a makeshift routine where we are not going out, but we have something to do with the family. And most of the active hours now are spent with the family members rather than colleagues or friends or even helpers, house helpers. I miss them big time. Nobody rings the doorbell, right? So we really have reached to a stage where family has taken over almost everything else that we do. And our children are wonderfully, really getting into a mode where they have accepted this new normal. They are really now following very simple basic procedures of hand washing, protecting themselves. A lot of policing is happening around that time, but we do give a lot of instructions to our children, but I think somewhere it is being absorbed. And of course, because we all are confined in four walls, this is a very common scene that I see with many of my clients. Mommy dear handling both the children at one time. And this is something, a great scene to see, but not easy, to be honest, when you are in these shoes. You are handling not only your children, your whole family and yourself, and then you are also having work commitments to meet. And this is our reality today. We cannot escape it. We cannot run away from this. And no matter how much we want to deny this, we really don't know how long we will be locked under this and what is the future there. Where will we end up from there? Is it going to stay like that forever? Daddy in the morning with whom I'm doing a session asked me this question. So do you know, Meghna, if this will stay like this forever? And I'm like, I wish I knew it. But trust me, it's actually very unpredictable. And amidst all this, we are doing work for home and work from home. And this is where it gets on more challenging now. We do not have any support system. The great army of people we used to have, especially in Indian households, gone missing. We are protecting them by not inviting them at our places. And we are surviving on our own with whatever skills God has given us to us. So challenging, but yes, some parents are found to be enjoying, some parents are struggling, some parents take it as new learning, and some parents say that, oh Baba, I don't want to learn anymore. So we do have a mix of feelings coming out from this very phenomenon of work from home along with work from home. And it's not only work from home, it is working sometimes for very young children, sometimes teenagers bearing all those temper tantrums, and sometimes preteens when they really don't know where they belong to. So we really have a spectrum of family setup, and amidst that, each family has its own challenges. But I would also say parents, or people who are listening to me, every family has its own strength too. Don't forget that. Yeah, but it is natural to feel a bit low. It's natural that you feel that things are not in your control, and when you are taking care of children, family, work commitments, doing everything on your own, still have deadlines to meet, and still everybody needs breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You have tons of things to do as a couple together or even all by yourself. By the end of the day, you are exhausted. You are really tired. You are exhausted. I can relate with this picture very well. I was actually sitting few days back very much like that I don't know what's next, because you are exhausted and you really don't know how to get the energy back. Well, you take rest and you get up again the next morning with the new thought, with the new feeling. But parent dear, trust me, this particular journey that I have shown you through this sketches, I purely built it on based on my conversation with hundreds and thousands of parents across globe with whom I work, because I see this happening everywhere. Now, where do we stand amidst all this when we have two or one tiny little babies or children in our hand?
I guess Meghna will reconnect again. So in the meanwhile, I think Chaitanya has already said that on the chat. To all the attendees, I think while we progress in the session, please feel free to start posting your questions, and me and Mansi will pick up those questions during the Q&A session, and we can run this through Meghna for these answers or the solutions that we are looking for as well.
So tell me, Prashant, what has been your biggest challenge in the last few months? I mean, 2 months for that matter. 2 months, imagine we've been stuck at home, not getting out. I mean, this is insane. I can't even, I don't think any of us imagined something like this.
Of course. So Mansi, I mean, my work and my job, as well as meeting up with clients, moving around across cities, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and all of those as well. Traveling was always some kind of a leisure or a relaxation for me. I always looked at it like that. So I mean, that I think has been some major place where now I'm completely bound to a workstation that I have created at home. And I think that kind of has taken away that bit of a relaxation. It's been 2 months now. So, I mean, I definitely miss office and work and all of those. I mean, pressures are there, but then I mean, working together definitely helps. I think we as a country, we're not completely modeled in all segments as industry to work from home or something. And with no other option left, we had to cope up. So,
I know.
No complaints there. Yeah.
True. Completely thrown into the sea. But I feel relatively we've coped fairly well. In general, I mean, there are negative aspects to it, but overall, I feel things are comparatively being managed well.
Correct.
Question is, okay, tell me something. Oh, great, Meghna's back.
Meghna's back. Yeah.
Please carry on if you have any conversation.
No, please. We'll take over later, Meghna.
Sure.
Okay. Sure. I was talking about where do we stand here right now in terms of all this struggle that we are going through. Some very basic things are coming your way purely based on research, and I would like to share with each one of you, because this is something which has given me great result, and I have seen that parents are heavily benefited out of these very basic practical tips. So why not share with each one of you and see whether it helps you or not. So first of all, parents, whatever age group your children are, be it from infancy till teenage, till 18. I'm not certified to talk beyond that, so I'll not talk beyond that age range. But when I work with children between 0 to 18 years, one thing that we really need to focus on as significant adults around them is to provide the age appropriate information. So the moment the child comes to you, please do not discard the question that is coming from the child. Giving an ambiguous answer is the biggest crime that you can do to your child. So in the name of saving them, please do not keep them in dark. Why I'm saying so is because science has given us clear-cut pattern that when children are into asking questions or finding answers for the curiosity, and if they don't get the right answer, then the brain tendency goes towards imagination. I start imagining things as answers to those questions, and when it comes to health or sickness, children between the age range of 2 years to 18 years are found to be getting into a mode which is not so positive. They tend to think more negative things about sickness and health related issues than the positive things. And that is the reason parents do not over inform your children. So let's take an example of current situation. You might want to avoid talking about the deaths, the losses in the family, the trauma that families are going through. But please do not say to them, hey buddy, nothing, this virus will go away, you stay indoors. This is very half-hearted information given to children. And trust me, you need to provide details about how the disease is spreading, what is the impact. There are children, teenagers who are talking a lot to me nowadays when I work with them about the financial impact of this. And it is great. Kudos to those parents who are so transparent in giving information to children. Now, when we talk, when we give information, few things to take note of. Very first thing, parents, our job as adults to our children is to provide them a concept whenever they are in low phase of life or whenever they are fighting the battles of life. They better act as soldiers rather than feeling powerless. So I'll give you one quick example, very real example that I saw recently while working with the family. So the child comes and asks, why can't I go out and play with my friends? It's enough of lockdown. I am bored. I don't want to stay indoors. Allow me to go outside. And if the daddy dear says that if you go out, you will get sick. You will catch the virus. You will get sick. You will not only infect yourself, you will infect everybody. All of us will be in big soup. A big no-no, cannot go out. And the same question can be answered in the way, hey buddy, there is a bad virus outside, a monster sitting outside, and to beat that virus, we need to stay indoors. Just the concept of beating the virus will stimulate the part of brain which will make children feel like a soldier rather than helpless people. And this simple change in conversation will really make a huge difference in their functioning, in their brain functioning, in their attitude towards the whole scenario. And this is very important to give because we really need to tell them very clearly that this is the time where you really need to fight it. You cannot sit helplessly. So giving the power to fight rather than giving them the concept of helplessness, giving the concept of precautionary measures rather than giving them the concept of fear around it. Please take these things in mind. And the next thing that I would really like to share, and I think I can share that because I myself being a mom, but to all the listeners, to me, first disclaimer, it's not coming from me, it's coming purely from science. But the science says that mommies are found to be more worrying about health of children than daddies. And when it is a pandemic like this or health related issues, mommy dear might say to the child that, hey buddy, nothing to worry, but her body says something else. So mommy dear, focus on your body language. This is where the science is coming from. It's not me who is saying that, so don't kill me for saying so. But mommies are found to be more anxious and they are not able to control the body language at times. So you might be saying that, hey, nothing to worry, but if you are worried and perturbed within, your child is absorbing that. Your child is understanding your body language. And we have clear-cut pattern where children are understanding mom's body language much more than what mommy is saying. So what you say at this time does not matter, mommies, much the way how you say. And please take this in note, because I will take the blame on myself. I have been a mommy like that in times of crisis. So I have worked on it, and we all can work on it. And when we have put our children in this scenario with ourselves, you say that you are 24/7 in this four wall, and you are all the time working, you are all the time doing this and that, exhausted. Parents, don't forget, our children are also in the same four walls. Don't forget that. So in the name of social distancing, our job is to not socially isolate them, kindly allow them to stay connected to their friends, even if it is video call, virtual calls, calling extended family members. Wonderful idea. We are suggested to maintain social distance, but we are not asked to maintain social isolation. So don't keep yourself in isolation. Stay connected with your friends. I'll wrap up this discussion because I really would like to take a Q&A with quick 3 C's and 3 R's. So my first 3 C's coming your way. Parents, in general, I'm a big fan of this concept as parenting. When we work with parents, especially millennial parents, is about conditioning. It is high time, parents, that we move from policing to practicing. Stop giving instructions to your children for every single thing. Now is the time to check whether they are following these things on their own or not. If your child has celebrated 3rd birthday, your child is very much ready to protect himself or herself. Allow that to happen. Allow that to happen to the extent that you are not telling your child to hand wash again and again. You are not telling your child to stand in the middle of the elevator all the time. Check how the child is behaving. Trust me, parents, most of the times when we leave children on them, they take care of themselves. When they see us around, that's when they forget. So I would really request you to get into a mode of conditioning where children are getting into the habit of protecting themselves. It is more true because most of the science papers coming out right now on the very basic preliminary research on this virus, most of the scientists in pediatric associations also highlighting across the globe that this virus is here to stay. And we probably need to learn to live with that. And if that is the case, we better make our children soldiers. And conditioning is the key over here. How do you condition them? Keep clarity in your communication. Even if you have online classes going on for your child, parents, please understand that you need to have clear communication from the school. Ask them clearly what kind of involvement is expected out of you. And probably you are too involved in online classes of your children. You are not required. Probably you are not required. And then you say, I'm burning out. I'm exhausted. And so this is where I'm coming from. The other 2 C's are highly important: communication and clarity in your communication to the child and for the child. Highly, highly important. Highly, highly important. And clarity is very significant concept of human brain. And that's where I'm coming for the next 3 R's that are very close to my heart. The moment a child follows a routine, the moment you bring the concept of routine, I'm fine if your children were getting up at 6 in the morning earlier and now they are getting up at 8. I'm fine. They need not to catch a school bus. But on an average, parents, be it any age group of children, and it is in fact true for adults also, you define your routine if your daily mundane chores are not deviating for more than 40 minutes. 40 minutes. So what do I mean by that? One day you get up at 8, another day you get up at 9:30, then 10:30, then 11, then 6. You are deviating much more than 40 minutes window. My dear, you are not following routine. You are just not following routine. One day you get up at 8, one day you get up at 8:15, 8:30, 8:40, and then again 8, 8:13, 8:40. Then this is routine. So you walk within that 40-minute window. This is true for children. This is true for adults, that the human brain needs predictability of the day. clarity is coming from very much from there. You have to give predictability of the day. This comes next, this comes next, and routine provides that to a child's brain. So I'm a big fan of routine. Whatever routine you have set up, I am not here to comment on that, but I would heavily recommend you to don't deviate from that 40-minute window. More true for children in pre-teens and teenage. And this is the toughest age group to maintain routine. So if you really want to do that, start early. I always say to most of the teenage parents that first you really watch the movie that you created in first 12, 13 years of your life. You can't do much with teenage children. They are very much set by now. Yeah, so routine is the very big important aspect I would like you to take note of. And when you work with their routine, reassuring them, I'm there with you. It's a battle. We all are fighting together, and show it through your body languages, have family board game times, whatever you have set for your family, go for it. And the last hour, and I'll take up Q&A now onward, my personal favorite, if you ask me, and I might sound like a broken record to myself because I think I say it on almost every platform I go to. Parents, if you really, really want to take care of your children, take care of yourself. Put your oxygen mask first before you put it on your children. You need to take care of your own stress levels, your own body, before you commit to the child that I'll take care of you. So please invest in your own physical health, your emotional health. Health has two significant aspects, not only one, physical and emotional. So take care of yourself to take care of your children. My humble request, invest in your me time, invest in your own physical exercise time, because you really, really need to stay fit if God has given you the beautiful gift of children. I rest my case here so that I can take more questions. So over to you, parents. Please shoot. I'm ready to hear.
That was great, Meghna. I mean, the way you presented the flow was really great. The 3 C's and the 3 R's, I think most of the questions that I had apprehensions are already kind of taken care. But still, I think the first question that we have is more from a point of separation anxiety, where we are now in almost like 2 months being there with the children all the time and everything and all of those. How do we again recondition the children when the lockdown gets over and we go back again to work? Maybe it is for the mother or for the father as well. How do we manage that situation? Because now kids are used to, they are not going to schools. Their routine is also, so everybody is locked down at home. How do we manage the separation anxiety? Because we will have a job to look up to. Obviously, we are adults and matured individuals. So assuming that we will take care of this, how do we manage this with children as well? So that's the first question that's come up to us.
Sure, wonderful question. I was expecting this, and in fact, I asked this question to myself also as a mommy of 2. What's next? What should I do now? My children are well settled, but my worry is whether they will ever go back to the previous normal or not. So this is something that comes to us quite often. Pure science-based answer, and I will tell you very basic concepts that come out of the research from countries like Denmark or Norway, where people are going back to the life before lockdown. They are opening up schools. Denmark has opened up even preschools, Norway too. And when I work with parents over there and we see a pattern, I will tell you the tips that is being followed over there and giving us good results. I'll be honest to you, we do not have any research that this will work best, because in India, almost everyone till now was in lockdown. But the first thing that I would say is that parents, you have to prepare young children to go back to the normal. You should know your child. So I would heavily recommend you to know your child, in the sense you need to know the underlying pathology of your child. If your child has a history of any ailment, if your child has signs of asthma or lung infections in past, if your child is really struggling in basic immunity related aspects, it's high time you make a call based on case-to-case basis. I can give a general answer, but before I come to that, let me tell you, parents, Know your child before you listen to anybody else, including your pediatrician. Because as parents, I always say, you are the best judge. You know your child best. You know your family best. So first thing is, please take note that where your child stands and take the decision accordingly. If you are sure that your child is not yet ready to go out and mingle, do not send. And explain this to the child. This is the reason why I'm not sending you out. This is the reason why we are here at home for a longer time period. And this is something that has to be communicated to the child very wisely. But if you think your child is ready to go out, move back to the new normal and move back to the life which was before lockdown, please be ready that it's not going to be 100% like that. You will see changes. You will have to bring some changes in your routine, very basic like putting mask, hand sanitization, cleaning, changing clothes after coming out, check yourself, maintain social distance. These things are known to everybody. I don't want to go over again and again, but please be ready that your children are well equipped for that. When you are sending them out, don't do it like a search. Okay, today onward you are free, go out. Most of these countries, like I named before, Denmark or Norway, came up with a beautiful concept which is social bubbles. What is social bubble? Social bubble is within my community, I know 2-3 families with their travel history, with their background, everything related to family, and I will allow my child to go in those 2-3 families first. I am controlling the social exposure and then see whether my child is ready to go out, how much the child maintaining. I talked a lot about from policing to practicing. Am I yet to police my child, or my child is ready to practice on his or her own? So try these social bubbles and you will not only control the exposure, this is a practice session for your child, right? It is a practice session for you as mom and dad too. How comfortable you are. I'll tell you one simple example. A mommy in Denmark, when preschools were opening up, she wrote a simple message on Facebook. My child won't be your guinea pig. I won't send my child to your preschool. And she got 40,000 followers in a day, because most of the parents are having fear psychosis. They are fearful of sending children out. And I very much relate with that. I work with many parents and I see they have valid reasons to be fearful about. And if that is the case, then you have to check also whether you are ready to send your child out or not. Yeah. So try this. It should help you. Once you feel confident about you and your child, please go ahead. I hope I could help this parent a bit through my answer.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other question?
How do you think the school, I mean, now that it's very clear that over the next few months, it's going to be an online schooling system. How are we going to get our children to, I mean, I find it tough enough to sit and focus on a 1-hour session, which we are doing. Imagine they're going to have to, I mean, I just got a timetable. They have to sit since 8 to say almost 2 o'clock. They do have breaks, like 15 minutes breaks after every 40 minutes, but it's supposed to be that long a session. How do we get our children to focus and concentrate? And I mean, do we need to be around? Can we leave them to it? Or because honestly, when my daughter's been having her Kathak dance sessions, she just prefers to be on her own. But again, this is like a 1-hour thing with the Zoom session where the teacher is kind of, and she's enjoying that. This is like sit down studies kind of thing. I honestly don't know how these kids are going to face it, how we are going to face it. It's so bizarre.
Well, we do not have studies to answer your question, how children perceive online classes in the times of pandemic like COVID. But we do have studies about impact of online version of classes on children. So I'll try to answer through that. The very first thing that we need to see is that, and in fact, I was pleasantly surprised when I read a couple of research in that direction. Human adaptability is beyond belief, mommy. And in that also, in that chain of human bodies, children are topmost. Children's adaptability is beyond belief. They adapt real quick. They are really the leaders when it comes to adaptability. You give this, they will somehow find their place in it. And that is what most of the different versions of teaching highlight, that children are very receptive to teaching. So they don't enjoy or they don't like something when parents says, oh my goodness, it looks very boring. Are you serious about it? You are going to sit here for 6 odd hours? Oh, are you listening? Are you responding? And that is when the child feels, something has to be bored about it. Something is wrong. So I would say, parents, please check how you are communicating about this school. I always say to parents in general also, your child will respect his or her teacher when you respect his or her teacher. Yeah, it has to come from parents. I respect your school, so the child respects the school. If I keep saying, oh my goodness, I pay so much to your school and this is also not given to you, that is what I'm feeding to my child. Your school is not worth it. So I always say schools and parents need to work hand in hand, because the real achiever is the child. The common goal is the child. So the same thing applies for online classes. We need to be cautious in what we communicate about online classes to children. We need to check our own language. And on an average, children's adaptability, in the sense attention span, is higher when they see peers around them. So when you and me interact, our children might lose interest. But when the same child sees his peers around him, even though it's virtual, the attention span is found to be higher because everybody is participating. Third thing is about breaks, which you rightly mentioned. They need to get breaks. They cannot sit for a long 6 hours at one place. So I'm glad schools are thinking about it. One more thing that I would say about online classes and the time commitment is that kindly check on the screen exposure also. That is another key element in this. So I will probably take more questions related to screen exposure and then give you the in-depth answer. But screen is something that sometimes give tough time to children. So if that is the case, closing the eyes during breaks is a wonderful idea. Yeah.
I think, Meghna, you really explained that very well. And there is a question in conjunction to what you right now mentioned. One of the listeners want to understand what could be probably the side effects of an online class or in a short term or a long term. I think you already mentioned there is very little study about that, but you can finish the conversation about screen time and everything. I think you kind of gave an answer to this question, but the screen thing, I think you can mention, then we can move on to the other queries as well.
Well, I'll take some time to explain this. Allow me to go in bit depth, because then only it will make sense to you as parents. Otherwise, you probably will understand it half-heartedly. So the implementation suffers when you work on ground. So let me explain it a bit in depth. A couple of concepts related to screen. The very first thing I always say is that parents stop using the word screen. Get into a mode of using the term screen time. Screen has to be associated with time. There is no other way to it. So the moment your child celebrates the second birthday, first 2 years of life, psychologically, if you ask me from pediatric concepts, a big no-no. Neither active nor passive. We do not encourage parents to give any kind of screen exposure for first 2 years of life. But after that, if I say to you that, hey, please keep the screens away or keep it zero, trust me, it's not possible. You and me are connecting through a screen. It's very much a part of our lives, and we cannot deny the presence. It's only present. So what do we do about it now? So the very first thing, parents, the moment you enter into screen zone, kindly give the concept of time. And do not give the concept of time through digital clocks, numbers. I'm talking about analog clocks. So show your child the needle is at 12, tuck, 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 it's going down. The moment it comes to 8, if you want to give 40 minutes, you will turn off the screen. So screen has to come with the concept of time. Now, when it comes to online classes and when your child is forced to sit against the time screen for almost 5 to 6 hours, how do you help? Parents, please please note that this is not the only screen time your child is exposed to. I am sure after the classes, your child has his own recreational time. I want to watch that show, I want to watch that movie, I want to watch that nursery rhyme, and all these things are again coming through screen. And this is where I really want you to understand the concept that the screen comes in two ways. One is personal screen time, another one is social screen time. Personal screen time, when I give you a gadget in palm. So you are holding a mobile, you are a child of 9 years, 10 years, holding a mobile in the hand, it's right on your face, and you are watching it. At this time, parents, this child is totally disconnected from the surrounding, is only glued to the gadget given in the palm. So is true for tab, for mobile, for laptops. The another kind of screen is social screen time, when something is coming on TV. Now your child is sitting in the living room, someone is walking at the back, mommy dear is dropping some utensil in the kitchen, somebody comes, shouts, your sibling is playing, daddy dear is talking to somebody on phone. These kind of things are happening at the backdrop. What is all that? These kind of things are not allowing me to get glued to the screen. I'm still connected with my backdrop. So parents, one simple mantra. If online classes are going on for your child, you cannot help but do it on tabs or laptops, but everything else, everything recreational should be given on TV. Take away the gadgets from your child's life after that, because social screen time will not lead to addiction, will also very important is that will also allow the child to get into the concept of screen time. So I would say be very cautious about this.
Meghna, what would you suggest about handling the younger kids? You know, toddlers, it's like 3 and 4 year olds at home, and managing their tantrums. You can't take them out. It's difficult. I think, you know, I'm post that, but I recall, and it is a tough phase.
Yeah, true. But I would say most of the time when I'm working with parents, the most common thread of conversation is, hey Meghna, I never believed my child will stay indoors. I never believed that. So many weeks, my child is still indoors, still eating, sleeping, talking nicely is a wonder to me as well. Most of the parents are telling me that. But you are very right in saying that, yes, it is challenging. Now for toddlers, some phenomenon that as parents we need to keep in mind. The most important thing is routine. That is the reason when I was presenting, I was emphasizing a lot on that, because that will help me in answering this question as well. Routine is very important simply because the more the child has a predictability of the day, the lesser will be the tantrum. Because I'm less insecure, I'm not confused. So my tantrums go down big time. The moment I have a sleep pattern and food pattern, these two things, food and sleep, define a lot about stress hormone. How do we check stress hormone in children or adults? We just take the saliva of your sample, which is basically, if it is full of cortisol hormone, it is a stress hormone. So what do? There are multiple research studies that say that if you align your child's routine with sunrise and sunset, cortisol hormones go down big time. The moment the cortisol hormones go down, the stress hormones, my tantrums reduce, my aggression reduce, right? So you might laugh on it, but I seriously feel that a very simple phenomenon. But if your children are sleeping at 11 or 12 at night, and then you think my child is sleeping for 10 hours or so, especially young children like you mentioned, my dear parents, you are very wrong in your understanding about sleep. Because the moment the sun rises, the deep sleep of the child's brain gets into active sleep. So your child is actually no more sleeping. The child's brain can sense everything that's happening around me. So the ideal time to put your child to bed is soon after sunset. Take dinner, and then between 8 to 9, your child should be at the bed sleeping. And that's when it goes up, That's when it is very important. The moment the sun comes up, your child is actually fresh by that time. So it is something very important to take note of. And it is something of high significance when it comes to this, that you really, really need to understand the concept of food and sleep. The third thing that I would say to parents, evening hours. I know parents, we all are occupied. We all are really, really juggling. Kudos to all those moms and dads who are managing families with the work. Hats off to each one of you. I would use this platform to congratulate each one of you. Take a bow from me. It is not an easy thing to do. But trust me, evening hours, save it for family. Literally save it family. My children are roaming around me because I know they are getting jittery because it's our family board game time and they are waiting for me to go back and play with them. And that is so true, because you really need to find out those 2 hours in the evening where you are actually investing purely in home-based activities. Not avoid, please avoid, don't take calls or meetings, don't host at this time, because this is the time your child needs it most.
Okay, what about the younger kids? What would you suggest? There was a question earlier. The 3.5-year-olds, do they really need this online schooling? You know, can't they just keep them away? What would you suggest? Is it a good idea to have online schooling, or because I guess it needs to be under vigilance? And is it really going to help?
See, the point over here is that if you ask me, in ideal world, there is no substitute of 2 things in a young child's life. One is mother, second is socialization. Yeah, if you ask me in ideal world, this is my answer. So there is no substitute of face-to-face schooling, especially for young children. Ideally, I would never encourage for online classes or any online connection for children of 3 to 4 years, because socialization is the key of happiness for these children. But in today's world, when they are really locked, I would say something is better than nothing. So keeping them totally disconnected from their peers is a big loss to them. I can share multiple such videos that parents keep sharing with me when I ask them to not socially isolate children, maintain social distancing. When I was talking about that, they started having video calls with their school friends. And you won't believe these 3 or 4-year-olds were showing their toys, broken toys. See, this is my favorite book, and everything is going on video. And they are connecting as if they are sitting next to each other. And if this can be achieved through this dead medium of a screen, it's wonderful. It's really wonderful. So making it zero, given the tough phase we are in, is actually not healthy. I would rather allow that social interaction, even though if it is from a screen, to these children. Now, the moment you start thinking about academics, that's when it gets wrong. I am more talking about engagement. I am more talking about, even if you are giving concepts, the great preschools across globe, or the great kindergartners in the system, they have a wonderful curriculum which is more or less play-oriented, play-based, interaction-based, child-led activity-based. And if that is happening, there is no worry to be worried about it, because I'm sure none of the preschools are asking the students to sit for 3 long hours or 5 long hours. So if it is for minimal period, supported by the adults, a participation from everybody, and still a child gets opportunity to interact with peer instead of
I think we have a quick last 10 minutes as well, while we have a couple of questions to be still answered. If there are any questions that we've already not addressed, or if you have a very unique question, please do position them. We'll see as soon as Meghna is back, we'll get them to her. I'm sure each one of us is resonating to the kind of tips Meghna has shared. Personally, certain things that she mentioned about the screen time and everything, I think before my kid, I'm going to apply that to myself as well.
I think I like this concept of cortisol, what she shared. It never struck us. Because the cortisol thing for us is like after 18, but we don't realize that it actually starts developing as soon as you start stepping into the adulthood.
Absolutely.
I think we've gained a lot of insights thanks to Meghna's session. I mean, so many questions are like, we realize that, we're constantly petrified about the screen time, but over here we're looking at it as a boon. So it just needs to be managed better, I guess. And yeah, I mean, the other day, in fact, I was busy in the evening and I was like, I'm exhausted and I cannot play with you right now. And now I know where she's coming from when she said, like evenings you should manage. Because, I mean, I guess we are flawed. Meghna, take over, please.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the rain and the
No
box cleaning. My apologies. My sincere apologies. I never faced it in any other session, but today it's really a bad day here.
Not an issue. So while you were not here, I was sharing with everyone that some of the tips that you shared about screen time, I'm going to first use it for myself as well.
Yes, please do. I am a strict mother in that, and my children hate me for that, but I think I'm doing a good job.
Yeah.
I always say to my children, I don't know about other mommies, but I know that I'm your best mommy. Sure. So, mommies, we really need to pat ourselves because we are really juggling and managing. And if we are a bit strict in certain walks of life, it's perfectly fine. But if you are strict in every walk of life, that's when we need to have insight.
On a funny note, my daughter was like, it's my routine. Why didn't you go out of this room? This is my time. It seems 6:50 to 7:20 is her time to come inside our bedroom and sleep on that bed. So that was like a disturbance for her. That was like, okay, this is your routine. Great.
So nice.
Yeah. Meghna, two questions, and I would make an attempt to kind of combine them because of the lack of time as well. And one of those questions, rather both of them questions, are related to the emotion that is attached when we make a communication, as you rightly mentioned earlier as well, with the children. So the question comes like, if you have a child at home, and as you mentioned also that as a parent, we need to be appropriate before we address the child's situation. So we need a me time and everything. So, and we might find it very difficult to go back and address this to the kid, that you will have to be slightly for some time be on your own, and maybe the dad or the mom will need to have some me time, maybe read a book or call through a colleague or address a situation, maybe purchase some groceries online or something, and the child wants your time at that point of time itself, and it then makes you feel maybe guilty or maybe feel very heavy to go back and so how do we conduct that conversation with the child at that time?
Very good question, a very practical question. I would say one thing, parents, you might kill me for this, but again, first of all, the most important thing here is the routine. Families that have children sleeping early get better me time than those families where children are up till late. Because once children go to bed, that's when you get your me time. Ideal case, that's the scenario. So you might really find me a broken record, but trust me, routine is very important, high significance in children's world. One thing that I would say, in most of the families I work with, and more so true for Indian parenting, if parents are asking me from Indian perspective, the moment a child comes in the family, every single thing starts revolving around child. We talk about child, we think about child, even when the child is sleeping, couples are found to be talking about the child. So everything, we plan vacation according to children's choices, we go to movies according to children's choices, and it's a great thing, a great idea for parenting. But in this humdrum of parenting, most of the couples end up forgetting that they are still husband and wife to each other. They are really a couple to each other, and children are given to us for a few years of life. Very soon they will follow their own path, will say goodbye to us, and it's again us. But in this whole process, we tend to forget the reality that children are there for a few years and we need to invest in ourselves. So keeping that in mind, I would say, parents, please understand that as couple, you need to share the load. The family has to share the load. So come out of this gender discrimination of task, that this is mommy's job, this is daddy's job. Whosoever sees anything, participate, finish it off. The more you work as team, the more will be the me time for everybody in the family. everyone. So this is one concept that is missing. And if you ask me, after working with Western parents, I would love to learn this concept from them, that sharing the load is one concept that we need to work heavily on. We need to share the load. Daddy dear has to participate. In fact, my most successful session so far, if you ask me, is about how daddy dear can be of big help. So that's a 1 hour long session. Most of the daddies ask me the simple question, hey Meghna, I really want to contribute in parenting, but I don't know how. What is my role? So I would really say that share the load, daddy dear. Don't wait for your role to come. Participate. If you see a kitchen messy, go and clean it up. If you think mommy dear is making chapati, go and light. Please set up the dining table. So these are the ways where you contribute. And this is the big time where you have to really understand that even if you go out and say to your child, hey buddy, I need my me time. Hey buddy, I need a break. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. Do not hide your emotions from your children. In fact, those mommies who are into spanking or hitting, or those daddies who really shout a lot to their children, we train them. And how do we train them? We tell them that just before hitting or shouting, tell your child, buddy, I'm about to shout at you. I'm about to hit you. So I'm moving away from the room. Say this to your child and leave the scene. And this is a training that is found to be very effective, simply because you are sharing your honest emotions to your child. So please, parents, the worst kind of parenting that you can offer to your child is stressful and artificial parenting. So don't get into guilt mode, don't get into stress, and stay natural. If at that very moment you need a break from everything else that's happening around you, say this to your child and leave. But inform your child and leave. Don't feel guilty about it. I hope I answered this question.
Absolutely.
Actually, go ahead.
So sorry, Mansi. So there was a part 2 of another question itself, where you very well quoted that we will have to go back and have this tough conversation with the child and let him know or let her know about it. At the same time, it will be a tricky situation to then think about the mental well-being of the child. Is the child feeling stuck, deprived, or sad? Because after a while in a day, things to do will be over. How do we manage that? Because meeting up with friends and all of those will get over. So how do we then pick up and understand that, yes, is the child sad now and not sharing with the parent, and has gone into a mode or a zone where we need to go back and pick it up, that yes, we need to go back and have that pep talk again. How do we get that?
Very good question, and I think it's a wonderful idea to really close this session with this answer, because I wanted to share this with most of the parents, and allow me to explain that. Whenever you are struggling for time or so, parents, pure science coming for your help, on an average, we end up doing 2 kinds of parenting to our children. One is instrumental, second is affective. I will quickly tell you what it is. Instrumental parenting is when you do daily chores with your children, those mundane daily chores, changing diapers, giving bath, cooking, baking, cleaning dishes, folding the laundry, mopping, grooming, cleaning up the cupboards. All these things that you do as daily mundane chores for your children come under the category of instrumental parenting. Affective parenting is when you read a book, when you watch a movie together, when you play a board game together, when you talk about some interesting thing you read in newspaper today, when you work on academics with your children, when you do school projects. So any other things which have goal at their end, you all do it with your children. They all come under the category of affective parenting. Ideal world, if you ask me, a combination of both is needed. Go ahead blindly for combination. But if you are struggling for time, if you really feel sad that your child is not getting enough time to spend with you, you want to spend a lot of time with your child, but you don't get it, parents, I would say blindly go for instrumental parenting, not effective parenting. So if God has given you 10 minutes in a day with your child, don't read a funny book with your child, bake a cake. If God has given you 15 minutes in a day, I would heavily recommend to you to do the mopping and grooming. Not only a lot of family bonding happens when instrumental parenting is done, but also this instrumental parenting will develop a bond that will stay forever. And your teenager, what the teenager needs at this time is given to the early years, and that's when the teenager will come back to you for his or her struggles in teenage. So invest in instrumental parenting. If you are confused, I would say go back to your parents' parenting. They unknowingly did instrumental parenting to us. They unknowingly did instrumental parenting to us. So next time, instead of reading a bednight story, I don't know what people call it, nighttime stories to your children, I would say share your own life's story with them without the book. That matters. I rest my case here, I think.
Yeah, I agree on this. We've been having so much fun, there are so many memories which I've been sharing with her, and suddenly we seem to be making new memories.
Yeah, true. So I would heavily recommend that. I think we have taken a lot of questions and time is running out. I wish I could take more questions, but I'm so thankful for allowing me to connect with these parents. And thank you so much for all the lovely words I see on chat. Parents dear, I am a retired person now. It motivates me to study harder, to simplify research and bring it to your way, so that I can really make this beautiful journey of parenting easy for you. So I'm honored for these lovely words that you are showering on me. Thank you so much.
Meghna, thank you so much. Whilst you are taking us towards the light, understanding the challenges of the parents, I understand you're stepping into the darkness because there is an evening already in Bangalore, and yes. I'm getting the update about the stormy evening that you're having, the disruptions in the electricity. A couple of my friends in Bangalore, they are also pinging me that this is quite normal. But sincere apology to our audience, you may have experienced some of the challenges of the technology. Today being Friday, I think we can take it thoda sa chill pill on that front. On that note, I would like to call our Group Vice Chairman, Mr. Gautam Boda, to convey the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Aruna. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of J B Boda Group and the audience, I would sincerely like to thank our keynote speaker, Ms. Meghna, for sharing all the valuable insights on parenting today. In spite of all the technical challenges we had, but I think, Meghna, you did the wonderful job. So again, big thanks to you. Being father of 2 children, I completely agree that today's topic was indeed helpful to all the parents in this challenging time. Also, I extend my sincere thanks to Prashant and Mansi for their willingness and involvement in today's event. As we conclude season 2 of our webinar series, Minimalist Corporate Lifestyle, we wish to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all our attendees, panelists, and keynote speakers. It has been our pleasure to have you all with us, and thank you once again. Take care and stay safe. Over to you, Aruna.
Thank you so much, sir. You rightly mentioned that today we are ending our minimalist corporate lifestyle. We tried to bring the minimalism factor because since the time of the lockdown, we have moved into the space of minimalism. So we were trying to convey from the insurance front, from the benefits front, and from some on a non-insurance topic, how minimalism will be part of our life. Less is more. So wait and watch for our next season to come. Maybe very soon, maybe a little later. See you next time. Till then, take care and stay safe. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you all.
Thanks.